Hi guys, so finally here it is, a video that I've been asked many times to do. This is my review or the detailed analysis of the racetrack Rijeka, Grobnik, which is essentially my home track, the biggest track in the area where I live, which is in Croatia. And after finally achieving my goal of doing 125 lap around the track, I've decided to give you fans some of my knowledge, which I've collected through many laps on this track. Personally, it's never been my favorite one. I don't know why. It's not really the type of track that I'm favoring. But of course, I did many laps here and I've discovered many secrets that the track is hiding. And I believe you can all benefit from what I'm about to say. So without further ado, let's get it started. The finish line or the start finish straight is quite fast, but not that long. So you don't have many time to think, to rest. You need to be very focused on braking reference, because the next two corners, actually many people confuse. The first one is this the small right kink into the right one, that is officially the corner number one. The left one is actually corner number two, which many people confuse. But anyhow, the braking for the corner number one is really crucial. And for me personally, it's kind of strange. Every time I tell people where I brake, they don't really see it, or they don't know where it is. I know where it is. There's a small bump here, like the track is a bit bumpy here. It's quite a lot bumpy actually. The bike is shaking a lot. So due to this bump, the first one, the cars and the bikes passing are leaving some rubber. So you can really nicely see the black line, and this is my reference. But for you to be easier, it's somewhere around the edge of this concrete wall. Or what you can also use is this 100-meter board. Now, of course, I'm speaking about really fast lap times and about professional riders. You need to take in accordance the bike that you're riding. If you're on a 600, you may brake a bit later. If you're on a really fast super bike, you may brake a few meters before, but around this point is somewhere where you brake. If you're someone that is a bit more amateur or want to take stuff more carefully, you can use the Marshall box house, whatever this is called, on the right side. This is also the reference that I hear many people use. Or right here to the left side of us, we just passed it, is a 200-meter board. That is a bit on a safer or on an earlier side of the braking, but anyway, somewhere around this area is a good place to brake. And then honestly, what I do, there are different approaches to this corner. Some people stick completely to the left side because there are less bumps there, and then they under braking smack the bike to the right. This personally I don't like, because you are leaning and braking quite aggressively, and if something happens there, it's very easy to lose the front. So I myself prefer to stay more safe and to brake while I'm straight. But in order to have a good line for the second corner, which is the left one, you need to go over the bumps. Where the bumps are the worst, this is where you go, or this is where I go. So the bike is jumping quite a lot. But for me, honestly, if you have a good setup, I can live with it. I can manage the bumps, and I can brake quite later rather than sticking to the left side. Now, what is crucial is to be here right next to or under the curb. Since they put a new asphalt on the track a couple of years ago, the curbs are quite good. Anyone who rode on old Grobnik remembers that the curbs were absolute disaster, and you should not touch them if you want to live. But on the new track, they are quite solid. You can ride over them, so you can also use this curb. Now, what many people do is that they go into the second corner or the first left one a tiny bit too early, and then this drives them quite wide onto the exit. We'll see later why that is not good. I prefer to stay a bit longer to the curb on the outside and then have slightly later apex here into the left corner for me to be able to exit on the middle of the corner out of the turn 2. Now you see it very nicely. I pass with my upper body right over the curb and the wheels are right where they should be, next to the white line. So this, I would say, is basically perfect. Then you can see I did not go right fully to the curb. I have around 1.5 meter space left until the edge. This is why, right, because we have in a couple of meters we have this right-hander, which is very important. And if you go too wide out of turn 2, you don't really have time, or you need to cut the throttle too early to be able to prepare the next right one. So what I do is I leave myself some space out of the turn 2 to be able to prepare for the next corner. And my reference here is the beginning of this curb, this white triangle. This is my reference, and at this point I want to get to the left side completely to basically prepare the next one. And here many people crash both on entry and in the middle of the corner, and I think it's because they are not fully committed, or they are not feeling what is happening to their bike. In this corner it's really important to be committed and to load the front. The track is quite banked everywhere, but especially also here, track is quite banked. You can see right here how it goes from really high on top to coming down next to the apex or next to the curb. You should, on entire track, you should use this banking in your advantage. You should kind of let the track lead you to the ideal line. If you feel that you're fighting against the banking, that you're probably on the wrong line. So if you're really feeling that the bike is going from itself, then you are most likely on the correct position. Here we also have a bit later apex, same like in turn 2, just to be able to shoot ourselves really nicely onto the next couple of corners, which are really crucial for the lap time. Here we have one passing, but didn't really bother me much. I managed to stay on the correct line nevertheless. So you get yourself right to the left edge of the track, and if necessary you can also use the curb on the outside. But have in mind, here is quite bumpy and it's super fast. So if you slip your rear here, there's a high chance of having a high side, so just have this in mind. And then we come to the really complicated part of the track, where there are many bumps. The problem is the bumps are worst on the ideal line. So many people try to avoid the bumps going over the middle of the track. But I think, in my opinion, this is more dangerous, because you need to use more lean angle to be able to have the same speed and manage the corner. So you either need to reduce the speed or you need to reduce your to increase your lean angle. So in my opinion, the best way is to go right next to the curb, where ideal line is also placed, but to decrease the lean angle, so to pick up the bike more, to be able, similar to the braking into the turn 1, to pick up the bike more, but to go over this curb simply because you're on the correct line and you have a much better entrance into the next corner, which is also really important. Speaking about the gears, I forgot to mention you, we go on the end of the straight, we have a full, or we should have, with the correct gearing, we should have a full 6th gear. Then we go 3 gears down. We do the first, second, and a third, the long third one, which we just passed in a third gear. And then, as you can see here, we shift. I might go a bit earlier. So here we are still in third, where we pass the guy. Okay, you can see the third gear. And then here I shift into the fourth. Now the reason I am not analyzing the video with my fastest lap time, which is with the Yamaha R1, is because this bike has a superbike gearbox, which has a much longer lower gears. So first, second, and third are much longer. So the gearing was complete, or not completely. Some of the points in the gearing was different. But the gears I'm showing you here are the ones that I used basically with any other bike that I've ridden here, and I've ridden quite a lot of bikes because I'm doing suspension for my customers, and I tried a lot of bikes here. And if you have a correct gearing, meaning you have a full 6 gear in the 2 longest straights, you should be able to use these gears that I'm explaining here in most of the cases. They might be some bikes that have slightly different gearboxes, but in most of the cases this is it. So we shifted into the fourth. We go over the bumps that we mentioned, and then here you can see I'm still here on throttle, but I'm already preparing my finger to grab the brake. You can see I have the fourth gear here. And then as I switch to the left side, from right side to the left side, I'm starting to engage the brake. So I'm starting to brake here. You see now I drop 1 gear. So third gear. Many things happening here. So this is why I told you it's better to stay on the right side of the track, because in this manner you have much more time to do all these actions, to pick up the bike from right to left, to brake, to put 1 gear down. It's many things happening at once. And if you're already in the middle of the track, meaning you have half of the time less to do the same task. So we drop down. As you can see, I entered quite aggressively, quite early inside. The point for me is this one. So I'm looking in the beginning of the curve, in this, again, this white triangle, and I want to be here next to it, and then use the speed that I have to get me somewhere to the middle of the corner. So basically this is a double apex corner because it's quite long, and you want to kind of rotate in the middle and then shoot, like a point and shoot line, more of a V line. This I did quite differently with the 600. This is important to have in mind. So I would say for this particular corner, the slower your bike you have, or the less power your bike has, the more U line you should have, the more you should stick to the inside of the corner for the whole duration. If you have a really powerful 1000cc bike or a Super Sport 600 bike, you should be able to V it, so to point and shoot it more, but it all depends on how much power you have on the exit, because exit of this corner is quite crucial. You can see right up to the end of the curb, sorry, is where your second apex is. So this is quite a neat little marker where you use the beginning and the end of the curb as the points for the apexes. And then from this point on, you can see how I'm with my head completely down. So basically with my upper body, with my hands, I'm pushing the bike to go straight, because I want the tire to be on the thicker point to give me more grip. This is a part of the track where you often see many slides. Some people high side here because they see the exit of the corner, because the corner is so long, you don't see it for a long time. Then you look, and then from one time you see this exit curve, you see the exit, and then you get greedy and you open the throttle really aggressively, but people still have quite a lot of lean, and the tire just cannot grip it, and they high side themselves. So it's really important to be patient here and to really think in advance, to have a one step in advance, and then when you start to pick the throttle, in the same point you pick the bike up for it to grip, to sit down, and to shoot you out properly. I mean, not shoot you out like literally, we don't want to do that, shoot you out like figuratively. And now the small thing is that here the curb on the left side, in my opinion, is a bit too short, because when you exit in the ideal way, you exit on the edge or on the end of the curb itself. So I think they should put at least 10 meters of the curb more, but anyhow. Then the next reference that we have, this is all third gear, the whole left corner, which is called, the locals, which is also me, call it Riječki. Riječki or Rijeka corner, named by the city of Rijeka, which is the closest city, closest big city to this racetrack. Now you learn something that locals do see here. So the long left one, the long 180, the foreigners call it Omega. It's not Omega, it's Riječki. Now we go on to the next one, which is Chicane or Chicane, out of obvious reason. There are left and right corners. Entry in the chicane is quite tricky. Many people crash while losing the front because they go into this corner too hot. The corner kinda invites you to come in hot, but it's quite tricky. The reference that we should focus on is the curb on the right. So we stick ourselves to the right side until the curb begins, and then we engage the brake, or a little bit earlier depending on how fast you approached it. We start to brake and lean it into the corner, and the second point where we aim is somewhere in the middle of this curb. So this should be our apex in the left one, you can see here. And now comes the tricky part. You should start to pick the bike up and change the direction before you see the next curb, which is quite tricky. You need quite a lot of confidence to do that. You should know exactly where the track is and where you're going, which takes some time, takes some getting used to. So you should start picking the bike up before you see the corner. See, the track is dropping a little bit down here and you don't see where you're going. But if you are staying on the left side until you see that next corner, it's already too late. You are not arriving to where you should be. So the point is to trust yourself. Of course, don't go straight out of the gate for the first lap and go fully and tell to people that you watched it on SpiderMartin's YouTube video. Don't do that. Take it easily. But after some time, this is what you should do. You should start picking the bike up tiny bit before you see the curb. Now we see the curb, and you can see quite clearly that my bike is not only up, but is already slightly tilted to the right side, which is exactly where we want to go. You can also see here quite nicely that my hand is in a preparation mode to grab the brake. So here still I'm giving some throttle and then I go onto the brakes. The reason why I go onto the brakes here, or rather I do this like throttle and then slam the brakes technique, where I'm having some disbalance into the bike. I want to get the bike moving from rear to the front, just to help me switch the sides, so from left to right. If you are constantly on like a stable throttle, like keeping it on a constant throttle, the bike is in the middle and it's quite harder to turn it. Whereas if you accelerate, the bike goes into the rear, and then when you grab the brakes and decelerate, the bikes go onto the front. And when the front is loaded, it's quite easier to smack the bike from one side to the other. Of course, you need to develop a feeling for it. You should not force it because it's quite dangerous if you do it the wrong way. But this is a technique that can quite help you save some energy, and trust me, on this track you need some saving of energy because there's a lot of changing of direction, and this is a really helpful technique to help you with that. So without so much rumbling, here we go on throttle, and you could see I go onto the brake from right side. I still keep the brake, and once I get the bike into the left side position again, then I release the brake, have a small pause with the throttle until I arrive to the apex. You can see also it's very important on the track to be super precise, like on most of the tracks, but here especially, to be super precise, to be inside. And then you can hear it, I'm starting to open the throttle to exit out on the curb. You can without issue use the curb on the outside. It's grippy, there's no problem, you can use it. Now coming into the next section of the, now we are actually coming into the, what is, I would say, the most critical or the most important point of the track, which is the middle sector, and the locals call it rupa. Rupa translates to hole, and the hole is because you can see up there, there's a start-finish straight, and the whole section that we are passing through now is in the hole, it's down there, so hence rupa. So here we are entering in rupa. Also similar to the long right one from the first sector, it's quite bumpy here, but you should still keep yourself to the next to the curb, and don't get tricked by this corner. This corner is very, very tricky, and if you make a mistake in this corner, you pay the price in the rest of the section. You need to be patient and keep yourself a bit more to the left side. And then what you're aiming to is have a tiny bit later apex, somewhere around here. What you want to achieve with that is that you don't exit so much to the left side, because you'll see after that comes a left corner, which if you miss that, you'll miss the next one and the next one and the next one. It's kind of a domino effect, and it all starts with this right corner, which is called lakat or elbow. So the right corner, lakat, you need to have a bit later apex, and to keep it somewhat tight on the exit. You can see right here that I'm around the middle of the racetrack, which I think is the optimum, because if you keep yourself more to the right, more to here, you're sacrificing too much in the corner before, in lakat, and if you go too much to the left, you're sacrificing too much in the next corner. So I think somewhere in the middle is around optimum. And then once again, we have somewhere a bit later apex. You should aim again for the end of the curve. Sorry, I was a bit faster. Let's go back a bit, tiny bit. So once again, later apex here, and then on the left side, you should aim somewhere around end of the curve. So the final few meters of the curve should be your point where you have apex, because like I said, the next corner is also quite crucial, and you don't want to be too far on the right. You want to be actually as left as possible, but still having a pretty good exit from the corner before. And this is where we come to the crucial point, which is exit out of rupa, exit out of hole, coming out of the back straight, which is the most important place to gain or to lose lap time on this racetrack, in my honest opinion. But to get this right, you need to get also the 3 corners before right. So the whole section is really important. If you miss one thing, you'll lose in the next corner, and so on. So once you've reached this point, this left point, with quite a lot of speed, have in mind also you here shifted into the 4th gear right before switching the bike from left to right. You shift into the 4th gear, and then you aim for this inside curb. When this video was filmed, this concrete part was on. Now every time I arrive, the track here looks different. Seems like the cars are ruining the track here, so they are always maintaining it. So the track looks different every time here. It's difficult to find your reference point. This time, for example, there was a concrete, so that was really easy. But similar like we had in the chicane, you need to switch your direction from right to left earlier than you see the exit, which is again tricky, takes a lot of confidence, even more so on this part of the track, because this is super fast. You're not going downhill, you're going uphill, so you have like a feeling that the bike will fly away from you. It's quite scary, but if you're waiting too long, you will miss a lot of the time before you go full throttle. In this point here already you can see on the tail 202 kilometers per hour, so super fast. In this point already here I have full throttle, so I'm using my body to drop the bike from one side to the other, and you can see I'm going fully over the curb. This is of course due to experience, many laps on the track. I'm super confident, I know exactly where this track is gonna be, and I would say that this is the part of the track where I'm strongest at and where I gain the most time compared to my competitors. The exit out of this point, I would say I'm really nailed on, spot on. Full throttle here, fully packed. You can see here we shifted into the 5th gear. As soon as you exit from left side to the other, you shift into the 5th gear. Then you try to keep yourself next to this curb, because you want to do as less meters as possible, not to lose time. So you kind of cut across the track a little bit, and then we coming into the braking point for this corner. Actually here in this example, I don't know why I didn't shift into 5th. Must be that the wind was quite strong from the front, which is often the case here. Usually I have the 6th gear here on most of the bikes, unless there is a strong headwind, like I said. So let's go back a little before to focus on the braking point. So 5th or 6th gear, and you have these boards that are useful but are not really precise, because where you want to brake is somewhere in the middle. And what I have as a reference is, you can see here it's really dark. They're similar to the start finish straight and entering in the first corner. Similar is here, there are 2 bumps which are quite aggressive, and the rubber that is on the top of the bumps is for me is a reference to the braking. Sorry, of course you need to really take into the consideration the wind on this track. This track is an open field in area that usually gets quite a lot of different, not only wind but also rain, also I don't know, storms. So this area of Croatia is quite hectic, quite eventful. So, but especially of the wind, which the locals call bura, you need to take into consideration the direction, and usually it's blowing from the front of the, so here headwind, and then on the start finish straight, sorry, you have the wind in the rear. So braking into this corner, which is Zagrebachki, named after city of Zagreb, the main city in Croatia, which is in this direction there. So braking into this corner, Zagrebachki, you can brake much later when there's wind, when there's bura, but you need also to brake earlier on the finish line straight. This is just a pro tip from the local, but if the conditions are normal, you should brake somewhere between 200 and 150 meters. I would say that is the optimum for the braking point. Go back to the 3rd gear, and you are focusing yourself on the beginning of the curve on the right side. So this white triangle, this is where you should be focused on when you are braking. You should have your vision on this point, and before you arrive, you always need to look one step in advance. So just before you arrive to this point, you are switching your vision to somewhere where this guy is. He's played quite nicely, because this is where our apex is. Many people go into this corner too early and then end up here too wide. So this is why you should keep yourself completely glued to the right edge of the track until the curve begins. Then you can go slowly inside, and like I said, the apex is a bit later. I actually may have missed it a little bit for a couple of centimeters, but in this particular point it's not so important to be fully to the inside curb, because you have quite a lot of space on the exit on the right side. More important is to have a quite solid corner speed, because this point of the track can be slippery, and if you are stopping and trying to accelerate out of this corner, unless you have a completely new soft tire, you most likely slip. So it's better to have tiny bit more corner speed, even if you are not fully clean with your line, let's say. So here we are slowly accelerating. You may notice that as soon as we hit the apex in the Zagrebachki, we are not picking up the bike, but we are controlling everything with the throttle. So going wide to the curb and going back inside to this curb. So you're basically hitting 3 points: apex, the outer curb, and again the inside curb, with one nice lean. This is what you should aim for, and this is how you know you are on the correct line and you are doing things correctly. This is a really nice indicator. And then once again, for the third time on this track, you are switching the direction before you see the exit curb. Like in the previous examples, it takes confidence, it takes some practice, but once you nailed it, you can really use the entirety of the track in your advantage to prosper through the whole straight by having better speed, because 5 or 10 kilometers per hour in the beginning of so in the exit out of the corner can be up to 20 or 30 even kilometers per hour at the end of the straight. So the acceleration is compounding itself, and tiny gains on the exit here mean a lot of speed on the end of the straight. And then from here on, it's basically all simple, or maybe not that simple. For me, it's simple because I'm just having full throttle, I'm shifting through the gearbox, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. But many people struggle with this final corner. For me, it's not a corner. I go straight over the curb and I don't notice it, but I see or I hear many people talk about having some insecurities about this corner. It's because the bike can start to pump, and the worst thing you can do there is to release the throttle and pick yourself up, because you're increasing the area which is hitting the wind. The whole bike is starting to shake. The even worse thing you can do is start to wrestle with the bike. So in this point, the throttle should be full. Of course, if you see that it's not normal or that it's really extreme, the shaking, you should not go full throttle. But if it's just a tiny bit of pumping or something, full throttle or more throttle keeps your bike more stable. It's like when you're trying to ride a bicycle and remove the hands from the steering. The slower you are, the more insecure you are. If you have some speed, the gyroscopic, I think it's called gyroscopic, I don't know. Gyroscopska sila is on Croatian, keeps you upright. So more speed and should mean more stability, and more important, really loose hands. Really loose hands to let the bike do its thing. Also, it helps to maybe pick your ass up. You don't really need to pick it up like literally from the seat, but just have it a little bit light on the seat to put some pressure on the foot pegs, and to keep your hands light would help you massively through this corner. Now, of course, it may just in the end of the day mean that your setup or your suspension is not set up properly. It could be, but in many cases when people are complaining about their bike shaking a lot on the straight and I sit on the bike, I don't notice it as much because I do the thing more correctly. Anyhow, we go full throttle here and that's it. This lap with some overtakes you can see was 1:27.1, which is not bad for this racetrack. And now I will try to do a faster lap time without so many interruptions, just to make everything clear, maybe say a couple of more things. So we brake here, we keep ourselves to the right edge, left edge. Okay, we passed one guy here, so we were not perfect with the line. We focus on ourselves on later apex, keeping the corner speed, exiting outside, going over curb, being really stable with the throttle, slight brake, shifting down back to third, first apex, go wide, focus on the exit, second apex, pick up the bike, give some throttle, focus on the curb, which is exit entry point, boom, shift before you see the curb, boom, slight brake to shift the bike easier, go outside on the curb, throttle, fourth gear, or stay in third like I did right here, third gear, inside, exit out in the middle, not too wide, end of the curb, fourth gear, focus on the exit, give throttle, shift the direction, boom, shift into the fifth, maybe sixth, yeah, this time I was in sixth, down back to third, not early inside, nice, keep it smooth, keep it nice, shift the direction early, full throttle, tuck in. I twisted the handlebar, can see that. Another 1:27 lap. And this is it, this is my analysis of the Grobnik, where I told you basically all the little secrets or all the points that I learned throughout many laps and years of experience on this racetrack. The reason I decided to do this video in English is because more people on this track that are coming are foreign, and I would like for everyone to understand it, not just my Croatian people, although I know many of you will look this from Croatia. So pozdrav svima vama koji me gledate iz Hrvatske ili iz Balkana. And yeah, basically that's it. If you are interested in getting your hands or riding directly with me one-on-one, you may know I have a racing school, which is SpiderMartin Racing Courses. I have school since 2019, so now it will be our 7th year, and we grow each year massively. All of our students are super happy, and I'm super happy with how everything is going. Really, I haven't had any bad reviews, any bad situation. It was all just really good. Everyone has some kind of progress. It does not really need to be the progress measured in lap time. It can just be the progress in feeling, the progress in safety, which is my aim. I of course want everyone to be faster, but I want them to be faster in a safe way, not to risk headlessly. And basically that's it. Follow me on all the other social media, which you have the links down in the description. That would help me massively, because these kind of videos take a lot of time to do. I'm filming this in 11 in night, so almost midnight. I take chunks of my time to film these kind of videos for you, because I try to grow the sport. I try to make it more accessible. Many people try to gatekeep things in this sport. As you can see, I'm not one of them. I'm here to share my knowledge, but I need to get something in return, which in this case is your like, share and comment. So without any other rambling, I need to go to sleep. Hope you liked the video, and see ya.